Welcome to Variety Vault, the ultimate destination where imagination meets reality. Step into a world of adventure, mystery, and wonder, crafted just for you. Here we unlock hidden gems from history, unravel mind-bending mysteries, and bring the most fascinating stories to life. From lost civilizations to futuristic inventions, Variety Vault has it all. Every video is a journey, an adventure that takes you beyond the ordinary. Whether it's exploring myths, unraveling conspiracies, or witnessing the wonders of nature, each story is told with stunning visuals and captivating narration. Subscribe now and unlock the doors to knowledge, mystery, and adventure. Welcome to Variety Vault, where every story is an experience.
Isaac Quentin wasn't the type of man who captured immediate attention. At a glance, he seemed ordinary. Average height, thinning hair, a quiet presence like a shadow blending into a crowd. And yet, for those who crossed his path, there was something profound about him. Something you couldn't quite touch, but could only feel in the space he left behind. He had a saying, one that lingered with people long after their conversations with him ended. If I have ever existed taller, then I have stood on the shoulders of giants. Isaac wasn't famous, but he was respected. A historian, a writer, a man dedicated to uncovering stories of people who'd wielded great influence, but been forgotten by time. His whole life's work was built on finding the figures history had blurred, the ones who weren't celebrated but had supported those who were. To him, the world didn't run because of a few shining stars. The real engine was the people beneath, a chain of unbroken hands lifting up shoulders that lifted others higher. One summer evening, in the quiet hours of dusk, Isaac found himself on the steps of the library where he had spent much of his adult. He stood there, leaning against the railing, sipping tea from a worn thermos. The air was heavy, whispering that a thunderstorm was on its way, a proper summer deluge. Isaac loved such storms. He saw them as reminders of nature's overwhelming power, humbling in the best possible way. Dr. Quentin, came a voice, a soft yet eager one from behind him. He turned to see a younger man, perhaps in his late 20s, clutching a small leather-bound notebook. His thin framed glasses caught the last glimmer of sunlight, and though his posture betrayed nerves, his eyes were filled with determination. "Yes," Isaac said gently. "Sorry to interrupt, sir," the young man began, adjusting his grip on the notebook. "But you're the Isaac Quentin, aren't you? Writer of the Silent Shore." Isaac nodded modestly, his expression betraying no pride, only a kind patience. "I am." The young man hesitated again, and then thrust the leather notebook toward him. "I've been waiting to meet you, to show you this." Isaac accepted the book cautiously, his hands brushing the worn, soft cover. Inside were pages upon pages of handwritten notes, diagrams, names, and dates. His brow furrowed, processing the contents. The notes seemed to revolve around a single name, Dr. Malcolm Everett, scrawled over and over through timelines, maps, sketches. "Dr. Everett," the young man explained breathlessly, "designed what's believed to be one of the first prototypes of a modern repeating press. They say he's the reason half of the lesser-known writers of the 19th century ever saw their work published. His work paved the way for mass production of early independent books, for thinkers who wouldn't have had a voice otherwise." But the hesitation was followed by the now familiar bitterness Isaac felt too often in his work. "But he was never credited," Isaac filled in, his voice low, nodding as his thumb skimmed one of the page's edges. The young man's jaw clenched. "Yes, he died in obscurity, penniless, and there's so little left of him now. No one talks about him. But if anyone could trace his story, could find the trail of impact he left behind, it's you, Dr. Quentin. I have all the notes I could gather. I don't have your experience. Please, will you help me?" The storm's first rumble echoed faintly in the distance. Isaac closed the book and regarded the young man closely. He saw the fire there, the beginnings of a crusade he had once recognized in his own younger self, a desperate need to preserve the memory of someone long gone, someone who shouldn't be forgotten. Malcolm Everett. Isaac's lips pressed into a line. Everett wasn't a name he'd thought about in decades, since his graduate studies when he'd stumbled upon Everett's work in a dusty library journal and dismissed it as a fragment too small for significance. But this young man standing before him had found the pattern Isaac hadn't seen all those years ago. "I will help you," Isaac said softly, and the young man's eyes widened with a mix of shock and relief. "Thank you, sir. I'll do anything. Whatever I can. You don't know what this means to me." Isaac offered him a small smile and handed the notebook back. "It isn't for me," he said. "It's for him, for the giants whose shadows shelter us." From that day forward, Isaac and the young man, whose name Isaac learned was Peter, set about piecing together Malcolm Everett's life. They hunted through archives, scoured personal letters, tracked down the faintest echoes of his name in libraries no one had visited in years. Together, they uncovered not just the story of a forgotten inventor, but the web of influence Everett had built without ever truly realizing it. The writers he had helped to publish, the careers launched because of his designs. It all began to emerge, one thread at a time, weaving itself into a tapestry more magnificent than either of them had imagined. Months later, when their work was finished, published in an exhaustive biography titled The Forgotten Press, Peter attended the book's release, sitting quietly in the back of the bustling hall. Isaac, at the podium, strode to the microphone to open the event. He adjusted his glasses, tapped the microphone to make sure it worked, and then, as always, began with the words that had defined his existence. "If I have ever existed taller than I have stood on the shoulders of giants," he said to the crowd, his voice clear and strong. "Tonight, let me introduce you to one our history nearly forgot. Let me introduce you to Dr. Malcolm Everett, a giant whose shoulders, I assure you, have carried us all." As the applause filled the air, Peter felt a weight lift from his chest. And as for Isaac Quentin, he stood taller than ever, knowing the work they did wasn't for recognition. It was for the giants who deserved to be remembered. The applause was not just for the book or the event, but for the acknowledgement of those who had shaped history from the shadows. Isaac and Peter exchanged a glance filled with mutual respect and understanding, knowing their journey had only just begun.